Hi everybody, happy Friday. I hope that you are having a beautiful day. Today I would love to talk to you guys about sugar. So all my sugar addicts out there, this is the video for you. I want to talk about how sugar affects the body and the brain. How it can worsen your symptoms from adrenal fatigue, and actually how it can prevent your body from healing. And then I want to cover some easy tips on ways that you can reduce the sugar in your diet and hopefully eliminate it. That would be ideal, right? So the first thing that I want to address is how sugar affects the body. So everybody knows about insulin. It's a very important hormone. We all know that it regulates your blood sugar, but it also does some really important things that you may not be aware of. So it actually helps increase our absorption of amino acids and vitamins and minerals. So that's a very important role. It also helps us synthesize protein, which is very important. And it does a lot of other really great things in the body, but it kind of has a bad rap because of all of our diabetics out there. They have to take insulin, or their body isn't producing enough insulin, or whatever it may be. Hi Becky, thank you so much for watching. So if you guys are joining me live, say hello. If you have any questions, please put them in the comment box. I would love to address them while we're on the call. That would be awesome. Let's talk more about insulin. So when your insulin levels are high, what happens is they get high because you're consuming excess sugar, right? So when your insulin levels get high and your body has all of the fuel it needs in your cells and you have all this excess sugar, what your body does is it actually converts that sugar into fat and cholesterol. And I'm not talking about the good cholesterol, I'm talking about the bad cholesterol, the triglycerides. So that is what your body converts it into, and then it stores it as fat. So there's a common misconception out there that fat actually makes you fat, and that's not true. It's actually sugar that makes you fat. So when your insulin is high, it prevents your body from ever getting into that fat burning mode. You're not able to use your stored fat for fuel because your insulin is working so hard to do something with all that sugar, so it stores it. It also prevents your body from going into autophagy. If you don't know what autophagy is, it's basically when your body goes through and it cleans up all the old cells and proteins and recycles it into new cells. And so your body can't do that if your insulin is high. This is especially important for people that are suffering from adrenal fatigue, because you will actually, when you have high stress levels, high cortisol, it also causes high insulin in the body. So that's why people that are struggling with adrenal fatigue often struggle with weight gain or have trouble losing weight, because they also have high insulin. And so when you're consuming a lot of sugar, you're just perpetuating that. So you may be thinking to yourself, okay, well, every time I go to the doctor, I have normal blood sugar levels, so I'm fine. Well, guess what? You can have normal blood sugar levels and have high insulin for years before you'll notice any change in your glucose levels. And basically what happens is when you finally, start to see those wacky sugar levels, your cells are developing insulin resistance. So insulin resistance is when the cells can no longer accept glucose into them from the So basically what happens is you have all this insulin running through your body, you have all this sugar running through your body, and you can't do anything about it. Your body's continuously producing the insulin to deal with the sugar, but the sugar can't go into the cells. So it starts storing that as, guess what? Fat. So that's why diabetics, they have a lot of issues with gaining weight and having trouble losing weight as well. So that's really, it's really common for you to see normal blood glucose levels for a really long time and have those high insulin levels. So another important thing about sugar and how it affects our bodies is it affects our hunger hormone and our fullness hormone, so our ghrelin and our leptin. So sugar has no nutritional value, as we know, and when we're consuming sugar, our body processes it so quickly, so we actually end up not being able to offset the hunger. So we don't ever really feel full. It affects it actually will stimulate our ghrelin, our hunger hormone, so we're continuously craving more, but it never triggers our leptin, which is going to help us feel full. So we end up overeating, and that just contributes to the weight gain. Sugar is also not a very efficient source of energy. So you all know when you eat something sugary, you get these high levels of energy and then they just crash. Well, somebody that has adrenal fatigue is already suffering from extremely low energy levels. And so when you're taking in sugar along with it and counting on that to be your energy source, you're going to constantly feel like you have absolutely no energy. It just makes it so much worse. And honestly, your high from the sugar is not going to be as high, and your low is going to be a lot lower. So it's really important that you keep in mind that sugar is going to cause you to overeat. Yes, Becky, when you're tired, you want pasta and pizza, etc. Yeah, so that's your body craving, in a way, sugar, because those carbohydrates are converted to sugar in your body and then used. So it's very common for us to crave the sugar, crave the carbohydrates for the energy, but then we just get that crash and we end up feeling a lot worse after it. And a lot of people don't realize that if you just cut out the bread, you don't feel as tired afterwards. Actually, you'll feel great afterwards. So hi Tori, so glad you're watching. Happy to see you here. So your brain. So how does glucose affect your brain? So your brain uses glucose as fuel. But when you have excess sugar, it's actually damaging to the brain. So it affects your cognitive skills and your self-control. And the reason why sugar is so addictive is it actually creates a reward response in your brain, just like drugs and alcohol. And then your body actually needs more, to consume more after a while to get that reward response, just like drugs and alcohol. So you're constantly looking for that reward response to make you feel better, give you that dopamine hit that you're looking for, and you're constantly having to have more and more of the sugar. So that's why it's so addictive in our brains. Our memory is affected because it actually results in slowed cognitive function and decreased memory and attention abilities. It affects our mood. So it's actually known to affect our ability to properly handle emotions, and you can see increased levels of sadness, anxiety, depression, moodiness, which are all things that we're already struggling with because of adrenal fatigue. So high insulin is very inflammatory in the body, and it's very inflammatory in the brain. So it's going to greatly affect your mental capacity, and it's going to leave deficits in learning, cognitive functions, memory, all of those things that I said. So this is all part of what is preventing you from healing. So that's just something that you really need to consider and keep in mind when you're reaching for that sugar. So what can you do to start eliminating your sugar without really feeling the negative effects of it? So to help reduce the cravings and the constant need for it. So let's say that your goal is, I want to eliminate sugar from my diet in the next month. So what you can do is, the first step, week 1, is cut out all of the sugary drinks. So that's your sodas, your sweet coffees, your sweet tea, your juices, your lemonades, all of those things that have a lot of sugar in them. Swap them out for water. That's usually the best one because actually water helps our energy too. So if you can swap it out with water most of the time, that's great. Have your coffee, have your tea, but instead of using sugar, then try using like a natural sweetener like stevia. The liquid organic stevia is really good. You can use monk fruit. You can use organic erythritol that's non-GMO, those types of things. So start swapping that out for in your drinks for the natural sweeteners. You can also do honey and Yukon syrup. Just keep in mind that those actually are going to raise your blood sugars just a bit, but there's nutritional value in them for you, so it's not quite as bad. You're going to want to stay away from the artificial sweeteners because they actually cause an insulin response in your body. They can raise your sugar levels, but not just that, they're not good for you. They can cause inflammation, they can cause headaches and migraines. It's been linked to cancer, all those bad things. So stay away from the aspartame, the sucralose, the maltodextrin, the dextrose, all of those things. And you're gonna find that those are hidden sugars that are in a lot of your foods and condiments and stuff like that. So you just wanna be aware of what you're looking at. Then week 3, which you can do, week 2, I skipped right over week 2. Week 2, what you can do is start replacing your sugar cravings for fruit. So whenever you want that something sweet, have a piece of fruit. It's really best if you can combine this with a meal. So if you're one of those people that after you have your meal, you like to have something sweet, have that piece of fruit as close to your meal as possible, and that will help reduce the insulin response that you have in the body, and it will also help keep your glucose a little more regulated after eating. If you happen to be hungry and have that craving for sugar, around 2 or 3 p.m., which is when a lot of us do, then just try to combine it with some protein so you're not just having that on its own, because protein will actually help reduce the insulin response and keep your blood sugar a little lower. So, you can have, if you're not sensitive to dairy, you could have a piece of cheese or some full-fat Greek yogurt with no sugar in it. You can have almonds or hard-boiled eggs or whatever it is, but just try to have some protein with it, and that'll really help. And fruit's high in sugar, but the reason why fruit is a better option for you is because of the fiber and the nutrients in the fruit. So your body actually takes longer to process it because it's absorbing all the nutrients, it's getting through the fiber, all of that stuff, which is not happening when you're eating a cookie or a piece of cake or some candy or something like that. Week 3, replace all of your table sugar with a natural sweetener. So anything that you tend to put sugar in, your sauces, your cooking, whatever you're making, maybe if you're making some sweet treats, then replace the sugar with a natural sweetener. I really like using erythritol, again, organic non-GMO erythritol. I don't use a ton of it. You don't need a lot of it. It's sweeter than sugar. But it doesn't have the aftertaste, or I really like monk fruits. That's what I put in my coffee, so that's a really good one, and of course stevia is a really good one. So go for those natural sweeteners in your foods that you're cooking or anything like that, your desserts or whatever. And then week 4 is to go through your all your processed foods. So in your pantry and in your fridge, look at all the labels and find the ones that have sugar in it and replace it with something that doesn't. So there's a lot of hidden sugars in your processed foods. It's really crazy if you start looking. They call it all kinds of things like maltodextrin, dextrose, sucralose. High fructose corn syrup is like the worst one out of all. Like it creates some crazy, like 200 times the insulin response than regular sugar does. So you just want to look at the labels and find the ones that have the hidden sugar. And then you can replace them with items that don't. I really like Primal Kitchen. They have really great condiments, mayonnaise, ketchup, dressings, that they use really healthy oils like avocado oil, and rather than soybean oil or canola oil, which is a different video. Oils is a big deal. But they don't contain any sugar, or if they do, it's a natural sugar. Their ketchup is really good. Their dressing, I really like their products. So you can check out those things, and just be aware of what you're purchasing at the supermarket, because like I said, there's a lot of hidden sugars. So you want to stay away from the hidden sugars. You want to stay away from the artificial sweeteners, which is in a lot of things. If soda is just something that you really love to have, it's a treat to yourself, maybe it's something you have with dinner after a long day and you just really enjoy it, there's a soda called Zevia, Zevia, and it's really good. It's not going to taste like regular Coke or anything like that. It's going to taste a little different. And it's just something that you can kind of get used to, but it's made with stevia instead, organic stevia. There's no artificial colors, so even your colas and your root beers are clear. But you're not going to get the insulin response from it, and you're not going to get the inflammation in the body from it. So it's a much better option if you really want to keep your soda. You still want to limit it, of course. You don't want to be having a lot of natural sweeteners either, because they're not 100% at not spiking your insulin. You may have little increases, so you just want to be careful. But if you're having it with dinner, then that's ideal because you're already having a meal. So if you guys have any questions or anything like that, please feel free to pop them in the chat box. I will go back and answer. So if you're watching on the replay, I'll go back and answer any questions you have. If this is something that resonates with you, if it's something that you're struggling with, if you're just having a hard time like feeling better and healing, and your symptoms, they do seem to be getting worse based on what you're eating, this is something I love to help people with. I love to go through all this and help you find what's keeping you stuck, what's keeping you from healing, and help you move forward. So I'm going to include in the comments a link to my calendar so you can book a free mini coaching session with me, and we can get you on the road to healing. So thank you so much, everybody, for watching. I hope that you have a beautiful weekend, and I will see you next time. Bye.